Let's try this again. So the microphone was muted. Have to check the automation for that. So hello and welcome to another live stream with me, Christian Rauchenwald. We have Daily Market Mastery episode number 31, during which, as usual, we are using Elliott Wave Theory or the Elliott Wave Principle to try to predict future market movements in stocks and indices. Now nothing's working anymore. To basically manage my public portfolio. We have usually 4 episodes per week, Monday to Thursday, and the Monday episode is used to review our progress, how we're doing, update our labeling if needed, and then take it from there. Now I just need a moment because one of my lights just doesn't want to work. So maybe now it only turns on one. Really weird. Is one of my, anyway, should still be fine, even though there's extra shadow that shouldn't be here, but it's not the biggest issue how I look like in those streams. As always, everything that I share in this live stream / video is my personal opinion and no way professional or financial advice of any kind. You should always do your own research, consult certified professionals, draw your own conclusions, and make your own decisions, because what I'm doing is sharing what I think and why I am making certain actions in my portfolio. That doesn't mean that it's the right thing for you. If you're curious about my portfolio, you can visit it or check it out by following this link that's also pinned in the chat and in the video description down below, but we're anyway going to look at it in a second. And if my portfolio is not the right fit for you in terms of risk appetite, variance, holding duration, and so on, then you can use the same link to create your account on eToro, and then there basically pick among probably thousands of other popular investors that you can copy that might be more suitable for you. Now, that said, everything you need to follow along is also in the video description down below. There is a link to either read the Elliott Wave Principle book for free online or order a physical copy. There's a link to the one-page cheat sheet that summarizes all the Elliott wave patterns on one A4 sheet. And there is a link to a bunch of other stuff like the software I'm using for labeling and so on. So that should help you get started. And you can also check out episode number 1 of Daily Market Mastery. It's a little longer, it's 1 hour, and there we cover some of the basics of Elliott Wave Theory that should help you get started. Now, that said, let's jump to the screen and let's hide that. That's investing.com. Actually, let's go to a portfolio. As you can see, so far this year has been a rough year. We are at -23 because last week the indices, pretty much all of them, had a strong run. I mean, the debt ceiling topic in the US is from the table since President Biden signed the agreement, the House and the Senate passed. So probably one of the reasons why that happened. But I want to point out that even before that was part of the topic, I pointed out that we might see -25% before things get better. Now, what do we currently hold? It looks a little depressing. If we look, Goldman Sachs slightly in profit, and then the rest is like red for now, especially obviously our investments in SQQQ appear red. To be fair, we closed a bunch of those positions and made the profits from last year, which we ended in +45%. I could have kept those positions open. They would still be green, but not as green. Same for the SPX. Our GameStop position, similar thing, responsible for most of our profits in 2021. And back then I was forced to close them and reopen them because I can only hold at most 25% in one asset as a popular investor. That rule is a little bit, I wouldn't say ridiculous, but obsolete, because I can still, if I want to, for example, invest more in the SPX or against the SPX, I can invest in the SPXU and then directly short the SPX, both for your 25% max, and this way I could actually have 50% following the same asset. Anyway, let's start and take a look at how things are going. Now, last week we had an episode where we updated the SPX labeling based on, I have it in the folder, I didn't take it out, but based on the latest episode of the Elliott Wave Theories from Elliott Wave International, basically the company from the guy that wrote the book on Elliott Wave Theory, or wrote the second book, because Ralph Nelson Elliott wrote the original that's back there in the shelf in like 100 years ago. So their wave count looks like this, and based on previous Elliott Wave theories and the accuracy of their counts, I'm trusting the accounts, like simple as that. I believe in Elliott Wave Theory, and I trust the accounts. So, and that's what the account looks like for the SPX. Now, obviously, ideally, we would have hoped, hey, that we turn around here so that we have our 0.2 maybe already here, but that's not the case. And we also said, okay, if this is a perfect zigzag here, then wave C would be identical and we actually would go up here. So we would have a couple more suffering days, maybe even considering that we increased our exposure a little bit, go beyond minus 25%. And I know that is scary. Nobody likes to see red days and so on. But yeah, like it's just, I don't know, trust the process or whatever the right word is. To be fair, we would have like a predicted turnaround point at the end of wave 4. So if we go a little bit higher, it basically just goes a little bit above what anyway should have been expected. And the whole loss up here, or pending loss up here, is pretty much my fault. Have to admit that, yeah, because I assumed, okay, we might be already done here. So like A, B, C, which would still be in the area of wave 4 of previous impulse wave, or in this case leading diagonal of a lower degree, and that turned out to be wrong. And then yeah, like that's how we got there. Now we're here, and the point is, because it's very, very hard to precisely point out corrective patterns are the challenging part of Elliott Wave Theory. So to precisely point out where we will turn around, there is not much point in closing the position and hoping to re-enter it better, because once this wave pattern finishes, we will go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to start our wave 3 progress downwards. Yeah, and just it's pretty much a patience game. The question is if we will start the downward process before the end of the month. So if we will already get into the green, if we go here, yeah. So, which would be a nice split, because then we would have basically first 6 months, 1 break-even month, I wouldn't call it profit month, and 5 losing months. And then we should expect profitable months till the end of the year. Or if it will only happen later, which means July might also be red, which, no, anyway, we're in June, sorry, my mistake here. So if it happened, if we already have June in green, so if we have the turnaround moment early enough, then we might have June in green, otherwise June will be red, and then July moving forward should be green, yeah? Now, which mistakes did I make here? So it's always important to improve and not just say, well, it is what it is, yeah? The biggest mistake that I made is basically that I did not monitor from February till towards the end of the year a lot, mostly because my wife and I were forced to relocate. So if you are aware, we used to live in Ukraine, and then in February we basically stranded in Germany and had to sort out a lot of things, obviously, to get settled here. And that took a lot of time, a lot of resources, and considering that my overall outlook is that we have a wave 2 that goes down, there was not much priority to doing that. I'm sorry if that affected your performance as well, but considering how we ended the year, that turned out very well. Yeah, and then by now we have 99 or 95% of things sorted out. There's still a couple of administrative stuff. It's crazy how long certain things take, but yeah. And as you can see with my almost daily episodes, I'm on top of things again. Otherwise, I might have noticed that, okay, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And especially using Kennedy channeling technique, where, I mean, didn't do it here, but if we take 0.3, 0.2, sorry, 0.2 should be here. 0.3 is potentially, 0.2 is here. 0.4 is potentially this one, parallel to 0.3, which would be this one. And it gives us a profit target, which is the median or the top of this channel. So we would have probably be able to, at least once the turnaround starts here, close our position here and not suffer that whole thing, yeah? G.I. Joe 300. Hey, Christian, been a while. A lot going on in the crypto space. You heard about Atomic Wallet, decentralized wallet being hacked today. Yep. I read the news about it. It's actually not a topic for this stream, but yeah, like I shared on the Discord server that from my main YouTube channel, I'm actually for 4 weeks or 3 weeks now pondering if I should accept a sponsorship request for a Maze wallet. So basically getting like, I don't know, $800 or so for recording a video and a few tweets or stuff like that. And while it's tempting, I don't know the wallet. And the wallet looks interesting, the interface is nice and so on, but I don't know enough about it. so that it's like, yeah, well, I've been going back and forth about it. Like the case with Atomic Wallet actually just confirms, okay, if I'm not using it myself, I'm not gonna make a video even if I get paid for it. Yeah, so because it just risks to recommend something. I'm not saying that a Maze wallet would be bad, but I can say with certainty or with enough certainty, yeah, to give my name out. The problem with pretty much every project out there, like whatever you use, even if the developers don't have bad intentions, there will always be people that try to pick apart, reverse engineer, try to take apart the source code to find any potential flaws. Yeah. But anyway, we only have 20 minutes left and we have a lot of things to review. Yeah. But so basically, how far are we going here? Like in the SPX, we might actually theoretically go up here, although one potential turnaround point would be the wave 4 end here. If we go a little bit higher, but that would be the most. If we go much higher, so the 4,500 mark would be the point where I would like start to question the wave count. But again, Elliott Wave Theorist and Elliott Wave International so far haven't been wrong in the years that I've used their resources. And yeah, so we'll see if maybe that's the first time, or if basically we'll just have to wait this out and see how it goes. Yeah, well, especially I didn't look if do we already have pre-market values. It's always so hard to. Yeah, we have pre-market values, and actually the yeah, it's like currently pre-market for the SPXU that we're invested in is like plus 0.08%, for the SQQQ plus 0.69%, for the SDAO minus 0.28%, and for the SRTY plus minus 0. So we'll see if we'll have another couple of updates, or if actually that was the pump for yay, debt ceiling issue solved, and now we get to see the sell-off. So it's, yeah, anyway. NDX similar, I mean, where before I said we don't know where wave 2 will end. We now, thanks to the Elliott Wave Theorist, actually have a wave count that looks like this, in which case, if we zoom in here, yeah, and I mean, wave C now obviously would need to be here at least. Question is if it will go higher or if we stay there. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so obviously if this were a regular zigzag, I mean, in zigzag, it's not always the case, but very often wave A and wave C would be identical, but we can already see that this is not the case here. So we'll have to see how this develops. There's still a little bit room for upside. We already passed the wave 4 point here and actually getting to the wave 2 point. I recall that somewhere in the book, there's also a scenario about that, but would have to read it up again. Yeah, basically we'll just have to wait and our base channel gets adjusted. But there's gonna be the turnaround. So like Elliott Wave Theory so far hasn't let me down, so I don't have a reason to expect it now. As for how much higher we can get, I mean, there would be the wave 2 line. Usually again, wave 4 would serve as the indicator where we turn around. Although I have to read up on that, to be honest, because like the rule is that wave 2 will retrace into the area of wave 4 of the previous impulse wave of a lower degree, which would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. However, this is a leading diagonal and technically not an impulse. So if therefore leading diagonals is a separate rule or something, maybe there it's like, yeah, I don't know. Have to read that up. So never stop learning. And DGI, same thing. So we invested last week after taking the wave count from Elliott Wave International, where according to Elliott Wave International, we are already in our wave 3, which is nice. So there they're saying it's like this. And if we are here in our wave 3, well, then basically we cannot go higher than this point. So if I get a horizontal line here, so that's our limit. If we were to reach that limit, then that trade here or that labeling would become invalid and we would have to adjust, which means there also has to be, since that's a wave 3, theoretically there has to be an impulse wave, but wave 1 of that impulse can also be a leading diagonal. So it's possible. Yeah, no, that's not possible because it's in the, so that's an impulse, sorry. Need a leading diagonal, tools, leading diagonal. So in an impulse, the 4th wave can never retrace into the area of wave 1. So here we have 7,000, we have 33, 331, 34, 2. Actually, that's higher, so that also doesn't check out. Oops, wrong zoom. And yeah, Gia Joe says you should do it. It's something new. It can always be good or bad. You're pretty good at explaining things and creating good content. Any future plans of creating a Telegram? no, like Telegram is just so annoying to manage. So in terms of having discussions about so many different projects, so Discord just makes it much easier, especially since I'm anyway in front of the computer most of the day due to our software business and other stuff. Whereas for Telegram, the Telegram desktop app isn't really that great. So let's narrow it down. So here our high is 34331, and here our high is 3, 4. Okay, that checks out. So that one is lower. Yeah. So that could be a leading diagonal. And then very often we would, in a leading diagonal, get a 0.5 that is actually on that line here. So yeah, zoomed out too far again. Would be nice if Motive Wave would save the data. So if it already loaded before. But yeah, so the problem is here, of course, I could explain it, but the issue with that would be that, yeah, like, well, the issue with that is actually when you have sponsored content, imagine you're paying something to create a video about your product, and you don't want to hear a lot of like warnings and negative stuff and so on. Yeah. So yeah, I could make it, but I don't know. Yeah. Like then there are people that don't bother to listen to the disclaimers or watch the full video or so. And then as a result, they might then in the end blame me for if something goes wrong. And I'm not saying there will be something going wrong with a Maze wallet, because again, the product really looks decent. Yeah. And here actually we have to check, that doesn't check out fully. That checks out as an ABC, I would say, which means that this here should be a more complex corrective pattern. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we would have here A, B, C. Yeah, so that's again, like I hate corrective patterns because there are like so many variations of them. But technically, I'm saying technically this could turn out as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 leading diagonal, which makes up wave 1, and then we have wave 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. However, that corrective pattern here could be unfinished and could actually be longer. And we'll have to keep an eye on that. So I'm going to remove that wave labeling for now. Basically, based on the count, what is a rule here? We cannot go higher than this. So technically, we can also, if the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 count would be valid, then we also couldn't go higher than this. So that would be a point where we would have to reevaluate. So there's also not much room up anymore before we would have to definitely turn down. And that would then turn this in wave 1. Then we would have another upwards movement for wave 2, not that far, obviously. Yeah. So if that was 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, like leading diagonal should behave differently. And then is that really, it's just so misleading. Yeah. So I'm going to add another horizontal line here. So not misleading, but yeah, so it's like barely didn't touch it. Yeah, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, and then here that one should probably be 1, 2, 3. No, cannot be 1. So that's 1, and then that 2 is a flat corrective. 1, 2. So A, B, C, and then down. Yeah, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. But yeah, basically same thing, although or not same thing, because in the SPX we are not sure if wave 2 is already finished. In the NDX we're also not 100% sure if we're already finished. We know that we should finish in that area and start our downwards journey. In the DGI we actually say, okay, wave 2 is already finished, so we slowly start our downwards journey. And in the Russell 2000 there we have a similar situation. Okay, wave 2 is already finished, which means we are theoretically in wave 3. And looking at this, I know we're here on a weekly chart, but looking at this, it looks or would be indicative to say, okay, that here could be 1, 2, 3, and then 4 still in progress. And then 5 finishes up that wave 3. So something like that probably also should switch to a switch 2-day chart and fix the labels. Yeah, so 1, 2, 3, 4 still in progress, although A, B, C would have thought that it finished there, but it didn't. And technically beginning of 5th wave. Yeah, so if we were to use Kennedy channeling technique, we would have our deceleration trend line here, and the breakout here would indicate that we're likely in the 5th wave territory, which means we should expect again downward movement here. And actually, I'm not saying that we will go precisely to this point, but we should expect that we will have the downward movement. So in other words, while In the major 4 indices that we're betting against, we still expect, or there still could be a couple days of upwards movement that will make the pain or make it harder to say, okay, yeah, I'm gonna just hold and wait it out. Overall, in the next, I don't know, in the next couple of weeks, so by the end of this month, we should actually see the downwards movement begin, yeah. And then, yeah, looking at individual stocks, let's check real quick what we have here. So in Shopify, do we currently, I'm going to open up on the other screen the portfolio. Do we currently have a Shopify position? So currently we don't have one because we are waiting for 0.2 to happen. And right now, looking at this could be A and B, and now we would have wave C in progress potentially. Yeah. So if that were wave A, give me a trend line, then yeah, it would almost take us down to the point that we are actually, I don't know where that's coming from. That channel should be somewhere else. So there something got lost when we adjusted, but it would almost, yeah, not point in the right direction. So that might not be A, B, C yet. So, but that might be 1, 2, now 3, 4, 5, and then B, and then C that takes us down. Yeah. So Shopify, we're still waiting for the area down here before we would re-enter. Black Knight Inc. That's the one where we likely might, or we didn't. Oh, it worked out so far. Okay, so we expected that this is wave 2, and that this is now 1, 2, 3, yeah, but we had a lower point here, but apparently, so our stop loss in Black Knight Inc. is at 52, and the low that we hit here, is at 53 and 53, yeah, so basically, with the upwards movement, depending on if it's now followed by another drop, yeah, it's possible that either the corrective pattern wasn't finished, and that's actually A, B, C. No, that's then we would hit a new low. So scratch that. If we hit a new low here, we hit our stop loss, and then yeah, could be. Although it would be a very long and a combinative, so WXY corrective pattern if we hit a new low here, or we actually are right and we just have a wave 2 here that's correcting more than it should and complicating, we go up from here. So interesting. Either way, next couple of weeks should either show us that we move into profit here, or that we hit our stop loss. Yeah. So, and our risk reward ratio is great. Yeah. Yeah, like, you know, I'm also using Telegram to whatever, like stay in touch with the, for example, the high dollar group and so on. But I have so many groups there, so there are so many chats like for every project, and it's just so much harder for me to keep track of things. And it's like, yeah, like, and again, like organizing one myself is like, yeah, the next pain. So Discord is easier to administrate for me. I know there are also Telegram bots, but Discord just is, is so far easier. Low 1124, low 1146. So it might be, as I mentioned, so we're looking at Ford. In Ford, we also still have a position. It's currently at minus 2%. And there my labeling was, okay, that might be WXY with here contracting triangle in the end, which would be point E, and we go up from here, which might be the case here already with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 would be here. Then we correct down here again. So we would go around to 12 again. And then 3, 4, 5. Yeah. I would love to learn to trade. Looks interesting. Have a question. Ever thought about creating your own project so people or your subscriber can join and generate a passive income? Yes. Yes, thought about it. So actually, I'm gonna finish that real quick up, and I'm gonna share more about that. Yeah. GameStop. So GameStop, we have a separate episode about it, but it looks like our labeling here is right, and wave 4 finished here, and now we should be in a wave 5, which should potentially get GameStop. I'm not saying it will go here, but it should potentially, it should at least recover 70% of that loss from wave 4 to wave 3, and then and reach the median or the top of the channel. We'll have to see how that develops. Now, technically, that probably is again another ending diagonal in this case, or a leading diagonal. That's probably a leading diagonal. That's then wave 1 of whatever makes up wave 5. So in which case that would be 1, 2. That shouldn't be 3 because it's too short. But there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C. So 1, 2, 1, 2, And now we would need a strong upwards movement, which actually aligns. GameStop, if I'm not mistaken, reports their earnings real soon. And if they're good, there might be a strong upwards movement for wave 3, 4, 5. So that would then be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so like yeah, so actually, yeah, like after the earnings, we would expect here an upwards move if my labeling here or my idea of labeling here is correct. So that it would, as said, like be 1, 2. I can definitely see a 5-wave pattern in here, 2, and then we would currently be in wave 3, and which means here in that pattern here, that would be 1, 2, and then we would wait for a breakout here, and that would then be, yeah, not saying that it will go to 100 here, yeah, but that's pretty much how I would see it right now, like on first glance. Anyway, keeping an eye on it. So there, our GameStop positions will still keep. And then moving on, Domo, we already took profit and we re-entered. So in Domo, we were buying here, sold here, and now we bought here again. Or we bought, where did we buy? We bought at open 1474. So we bought here-ish, and then lower again. So we actually thought, okay, this might already be finished. So we thought this might be ABC, which would check out with the wave 4 territory, but apparently it turned out more like this. Could be a combinative pattern. We'll see if we're right or not. Basically, a risk-reward ratio is good because if that's already the end, then we would, so if that's wave 2, then we would see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and basically upwards development. But since we entered here, we might be at a loss for a couple more days, or we're looking do-day chart, maybe a couple more weeks. And yeah, moving on to Block Inc., former Square Inc. There we also, do we have a position there? We have none right now because let's check the history. Shopify, we closed at a profit. Okay, and here, did we not enter or did we already enter Domo? Okay, we did not enter their position yet because we are waiting. That's where we have the analyst disagreements. Yeah, so what my prediction is we go down to $30, whereas the average analyst says we go to around 175. And where I'm saying, okay, either this plays out like this, which might even make 175 possible before we go down, but my overall labeling is we go to 30. So we're just waiting for that to happen, or for being proven wrong and then entering on the upwards move. Yeah. Netflix, we don't have a Netflix position right now. There, our prediction is like very, very dire. I know there is a warning, but that is because the data here is incorrect. So it's like not adjusted for 1 or 2 splits, and the actual starting point would be here, and that makes then the 0.1 lower and the 0.2 lower, and that actually makes the labeling valid. But here we're also in a long waiting position. Disney, we still have a position, and yeah, there we will see soonish if that either is already the corrective pattern that finished, which would check out if this here is wave 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the previous wave of the lower degree. If this is not wave 4, we might get lower and hit our stop loss here, so that is below 84.07. Risk-reward ratio is good, so again, like waiting a couple more weeks and we'll see which way we go. NEO, we have our, NEO, we have our position also currently at a loss. However, we have it, our stop loss is at 565, so a little bit below that point, because that would then violate the pattern, the count here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and therefore that's where our stop loss is, whereas our profit target would be, actually it's at 50 right now, so at least around 70%. I mean, yeah, like 70% would be here, but yeah, we'll just have to wait this out and see. That's one where I'm not that sure, so, but again, risk-reward ratio is great, and so far for me, the count checks out, so that's NEO. Then we have MU. What's MU again? We don't have a position there, but it was something Micron Technology. Yeah, so yeah, again, waiting position. So we think that this will be ABC, and at 30 we would potentially then enter, or if we see a drop. So yeah, could be that that's already ABC, but considering the timelines, just seems too short. So yeah, waiting there. JPM, we don't have a position. We think that it might play out like this. So either, that this is not yet the end of wave 4, but that wave 4 will take us to 100 again. So waiting there as well. MS is Morgan Stanley. There we also right now don't have a position because we're waiting for a corrective wave 2, which again, if our count is right, should happen. And then Goldman Sachs, we actually have a position. It's the only one that's right now in profit. Where the big question actually is, so okay, if this is already ABC, or if we screwed the pooch here and this is actually going to be ABC, which means we would then hit our stop loss, because then we would likely go down a little below the 61.8 retracement, which would be a pity, but we made the labeling like this, so our stop loss is at 277.84 like it should be. So if we hit that point or go 1 point below that, our labeling is invalid, and then we would have to readjust. And that's actually where we stand. So far the wave counts that we have are all, like, in my opinion, okay. Might have, or maybe should have bothered to, I don't know, like, I mean, not should have bothered, but maybe, yeah, like if here, for example, we would have said, okay, let's look on the hourly chart, so work our way further down. It would take way more time to analyze each chart, and at the end of the day, like, it just also makes it more likely that a mistake happens when labeling one of the corrective patterns. So like, I feel like, yeah, like I feel like the thing I'm doing right now works very well. And yeah, now, yeah, that's it pretty much. Now, as for the wrong button, switching cameras, can close this here. As for the, yeah, like, oops, wrong, yeah, so making an own project, yeah. So, yeah, like, I mean, the question is, like, what kind of project, you know? Like, we thought about, for example, if we create, let's say, I don't know, like, let's say 100 NFTs. So just 100, could be 1,000, could be 10,000, but let's say 100 NFTs. And whoever owns the NFT gets them, or let's say 50 NFTs, and whoever owns the one NFT gets 1% of our YouTube earnings paid in some cryptocurrency, yeah, every month, yeah. And I feel like, so we would not give away 100% of the revenue, but we would give away 50%, 25%, whatever. And depending on that, there would be more or less NFTs. And then depending on that, one NFT gives you 1% or 0.5% or 0.1% of the YouTube earnings every month paid in a cryptocurrency. But the problem with that is, like, the legal aspects, the accounting aspect, and then how do you actually pay users? So it would also require to develop some simple web interface where people can link their wallet to show that they have the NFT. And then on top of that, for example, depending on how if it's like low amounts that we're talking about paying out, would not make much sense if, like, your NFT gets you like 50 cents in a month, but the gas fee is already more than that. So we would probably pay out on a centralized exchange, like maybe in through Hi or Crypto.com or whatever, which means there would need to be an interface where you can link your wallet and you can enter your username for Hi or Binance or whatever. And then, yeah, like once per month, we would need to run complicated calculations to calculate how much time of the previous month did you actually hold one or more NFTs. Because if you sell it in the middle of the month, you should still get for that time that you held the NFT, yeah. And the idea behind it, I think, is great, because it would incentivize, okay, guys, if you watch every video, it increases the views. If you share the videos, there are more people than watching it, and more watching means more ads. More ads means more revenue from YouTube, means more money that you get every month, yeah. So, but the creating it is just something that right now is like, it's on my radar. It's something I would want to do, but it's just, yeah, like right now we don't have the time to deal with something like that. So yeah, because, yeah, like, and other than that, like, what else can you do? You know, like, I mean, they're like, yeah, launch our own bandwidth sharing app. Yeah, developing it and finding customers that pay for it would be the challenge here. So you would need to fund the project in advance. So like basically give out money while you're waiting for actually getting paying customers. And yeah, like, so there are a few ideas that we have. I think the NFT with giving like real earnings share is the ideal one, because it also gives us the option, if we're earning more and more, for example, from YouTube. Right now, YouTube earnings are horrible, by the way. Yeah? So if the earnings would go up again to levels like in 2021, where I don't know, like our best month or the best month on my channel alone, obviously there was the pandemic, people were at home and so on, but it was actually February, which is the shortest month, and was like $8,600 revenue in 1 month. Yeah, like, and considering back then I had like, I don't know, 40,000 subscribers or so. So it's like, yeah, we more than decent amount. Nowadays we're looking at like, I don't know, 10% of that every month that we get from YouTube. So it's really, really low. It's barely worth the effort, to be honest, right now. But obviously, if we were to launch an NFT like this, then it would give people some interest. And if then earnings go up, then the point would be we could also buy the NFTs back. So if, okay, earnings go up, we can use our own money and say we buy the NFTs back. And on top of that, we could configure whatever, like 5, 10%, even 20% royalties. So if somebody sells the NFT, we get commissions. So it also generates then additional recurring income for us when people say, oh, I don't want that NFT anymore because the earnings are too low, or the earnings are so good that everybody is bidding ridiculous prices for it because they want it. Yeah. And yeah, so I think that's the most promising thing, because it would be something that actually has value, and where the people that invest in the project, so we could then say, okay, if we would have 100 or 50 NFTs, we could say, okay, 10 we sell for $1, or whatever the equivalent in Ethereum at the moment of $1 is. And the next 10 are like for I don't care, $10, and then the next 10 are $100 or so, and then there are a few for $1,000 or so. Yeah, so we could generate some revenue for us initially by selling them, and obviously then for people it would create an incentive to watch videos, share videos, like videos, leave comments on videos, and so on, because they know the more they help to spread the word, the more they would also make. So I think it would be really, really a great idea. But again, the implementation is challenging. And again, the legal aspect is like, because technically one could consider that would be the same as if I were to sell you 10% shares of our company. Yeah. And that would then make that an unregulated security, not just in the US, but also in other countries. So it's about how do you phrase it that you don't say, hey, you get 10% from the earnings, because that's what, or from the revenue, because that's what would almost be equal to being a shareholder or a partial owner of the company, while still making people understand that they will get, or that percentage of the revenue is then distributed. So you would need to probably spend a decent amount in lawyer fees first to have it written out in terms of, okay, how can we phrase it, like that this is a monthly airdrop that as a basis will have this and that amount. And the second issue that I have is that right now the YouTube earnings are set so low that I wouldn't want to sell NFTs like that for like all of them for $1.50. But if right now, for example, if we have a month where we only get $600 from YouTube, yeah, and then we only get we only would give away 50% of that, so that's $300, and then there's like I don't know. I mean, there would obviously be way more than 100 NFTs, so people can buy in at a reasonable, like a reasonable small share or reasonable big share. And then suddenly you spend, I don't know, $10, $50, $100 to then at the end of the month get like 5 cents in your earnings. So then people would feel betrayed or scammed or whatever. So yeah, like I think we'll do that at some point, but right now we have other priorities. And I really think that it would be like a nice idea. Right now we are working on a relaunch of our entire software business, which takes a lot of money to pay developers and time to review things and have meetings and blah blah blah. And I think after that, once that relaunch is done, and depending on how things are going, we might then address that. And I also believe that if we can work out the legal aspects, so accounting and all that stuff, that this would be something that we could offer to other YouTubers as well, where instead of them having to figure everything out, you provide them with a platform where they link their YouTube account and where they can then say, okay, generate that many NFTs. It automatically, whatever they have to link their credit card or so, it automatically fetches their revenue statistics from the YouTube dashboard. It automatically issues the NFTs, and it automatically once per month charges their credit card to buy the crypto to pay out the people that bought the NFT and so on. So, and whatever, like, can you charge a monthly subscription fee, $100 per month for using the service? And I think that would then be something that really, really, like if you are not a super big channel with millions of subscribers, but you're somewhere in 10,000 subscribers or more, that would be something where you could really like give back to your audience, no matter what your channel is about. And at the same time also get additional exposure, because suddenly your audience has an active interest in sharing every one of your videos. Yeah. But other than that, we thought a lot about different ideas what we can do, and that's the one that really stands out that I think would be either if we just do it for ourselves or if we do it as a separate business to also offer that as like solution to other YouTube creators. And then maybe at some point not even just YouTube, because if you then have an interface to I don't know if TikTok has some earnings or so, or yeah, but if you then for other platforms have a way to automatically grab the revenue statistics so that the creator cannot cheat on it, but it's fetched from the API and that is how much you will get paid, so that's how much you're going to distribute, then I think it would be a great way to give people like an incentive for or give back to them. Just think about it. I mean, it's then tricky because if we spin it further, for example, initially it could be YouTube earnings, but it could also be, for example, in like if we look at bandwidth sharing apps like Honeygain. Obviously, Irina and I are earning a little bit more because we have a lot of referrals from our YouTube videos. Yeah. And they pay out in crypto. So technically, at some point, we could also say, okay, the airdrop that users get once per month is that percentage of our YouTube earnings, plus on top of that percentage of our Honeygain earnings, yeah, and of our this earnings and that earnings. And then suddenly, users would not only have an interest in promoting videos that get us more referrals, but they would then also get a portion of those referral earnings, although obviously a smaller portion, but still. And love the feedback. With free money, how much would the NFT cost? Honestly, I'm not sure. I said like the idea would have probably be to have a few for very, very low rates and then a few for very, very high prices. And so like in between, because if you just sell them all for one value, it seems like, I don't know, it seems like suboptimal. It should be like, okay, if you're early, so if you're following my channel more, which means you get the news early, which means you have the chance to get one really, really cheap. And if you're then late to the party and you still want to jump on the train, well, then you also have to pay a little more. Yeah. So because also the people that would learn about it first are the people on Discord or that are subscribed to some of our email sequences or so. And they obviously are then also more likely to then actually watch future videos and share the content. Whereas the people that would learn about it later, they might buy the NFT, but they never watched the channel. They just got told by somebody, hey, you have to buy that NFT. Yeah. And they might then not actually be involved and actively share the content. So yeah, but it all depends. It also depends on how much, once we get to that point to actually make this a reality, how much is YouTube on average bringing per month? If we're looking at 5, 6, maybe, I don't know, $1,000 per month in revenue so that we can only distribute $500 and we want to issue 1,000 NFTs, yeah, then the NFTs will be much cheaper than if YouTube is bringing $10,000 revenue and we want to issue only 100 NFTs. Yeah, so it really depends. Yeah, but again, like a lot of aspects to consider there also. How to include an option that maybe at some point we can issue more NFTs, so that like I don't know if all of them are sold out and nobody's willing to sell them. To a way to introduce a second NFT, or I don't know. Yeah, so again, but the bigger issues are the development of some kind of interface that allows users to link their wallet and whatever account name or username to make the actual distribution every month, plus the combination with the legal aspects and accounting aspects. Yeah, those are the things there that are like preventing this from happening. And with the low YouTube revenue right now, it's just not worth it. Yeah, so I get it's kind of like a chicken egg problem here, because like the doing it right now would actually be a way to help increase the YouTube revenue, because even if only 5 people buy the NFT and those 5 people and suddenly share every video and watch every video and comment on every video and so on, it would already improve the views and the YouTube metrics and so on. Whereas when the earnings are high, which means the videos all get views and people are seeing a reasonable number of ads and so on, then yeah, why do it? Because you're anyway earning enough. Yeah. Is a private company, wouldn't it help a lot not being attacked with legal issues? In my opinion, people shouldn't complain at all if they're earning money. Yeah, but I mean, so one problem would be, how do you rule out US people? So by default, because there it might be the SEC might say it's like, again, issuing unregulated securities. Yeah. So and it's still like technically. I mean, if I were to sell you 20% of the company, then you would get at the end of the year, you would technically be entitled to 20% of the profit, yeah, depending on structure. But so like simplified put, yeah, if I have an NFT and I say, okay, you guys will get 20% of the revenue, it's obviously a little different. But I'm sure that there is in every crypto unfriendly country, there is some prosecutor that would say, yeah, well, that's like selling them company shares, but without properly doing it and whatever. Like if you own a share of the company, I have to disclose the name. I mean, it might not be shown up public, but the government would know, okay, your name, your address, and how many shares and what percentage you own. Yeah. And if I give you an NFT, nobody knows that. So like, yeah, the bigger issue is it just takes time to find a lawyer that's competent enough in that area, and especially internationally, and be able to pay that lawyer for like working everything out in the way it's supposed to do. And again, accounting, because then the company would obviously need to every month buy. First of all, it would need to create the NFTs, and they are then company property of the company. And then it would need to every month buy cryptos, which means we suddenly would, for the company, also need to do crypto accounting. Right now, our crypto wallets are all private, and the companies are only operating in fiat, which is much easier. Yeah. Blah blah blah. Yeah. Yeah, but if you use a VPN, it's like it's still tricky, because if I were to notice that you are actually a US user, I still would be entitled, or I still would probably be required to somehow undo the transaction, or I don't know. Yeah, again, it's more about having the time and having the available money to pay the professionals that we would need to be on the safe side. I think the idea itself is great. Even right now with low YouTube earnings, it would be great, but the question would be how to do it properly. Yeah. And yeah, like I don't know, maybe I have a change of heart and I decide to do something like that in a smaller scale, with only, especially since the YouTube earnings are lower right now, with only like 10 NFTs, and we manage it through the community and manual payouts or so. But yeah, we'll have to look at how that works. Ideally, it would, however, only make sense if we can fully automate it, because if at the end of the month somebody has to look up who held the NFT in which wallet and whatnot, and then how long did they hold it, and how much were the earnings, and what percentage is he entitled to, and blah blah blah, then we would spend more money than the whole thing would bring. Yeah, but yeah. Anyway, already over time here and super off topic, since this is the trading stream. Yeah. But yeah, thank you for stopping by and for reminding me to not forget that idea and eventually actually pursue it. Where the way things look right now is with our software business, I think that by the end of the current year, we're done with the relaunch. So the whole NFT for getting monthly airdrops or so idea would probably fall into next year. So I mean, we might already started in the fourth quarter of this year to work on the details, but to make it a reality is then probably something that would happen. Yeah, not before probably, I don't know, second or third quarter next year. Yeah. Anyway, so thanks for tuning in. I hope everyone else that might have lurked in between or stopped by was able to take something away. And then, yeah, to all of you, have a great day, have a great week ahead, and then see you all in another